This podcast contains potentially adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly sexual context. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the literary briefs edition where none of us are wearing underwear. Just kidding. That's not a true statement, but it might be a true statement.
Never
I'm
know.
going to find out. Okay. I am your host, Erica Lance. My amazing co-host today is Danielle Orsino. Do not forget to like and subscribe to us. We would really appreciate it. That does wonderful things for us. And our sponsor today is Skunk Brothers Spirits. Coupon code DWA10. Buy your friends and relatives their amazingness and get that for them as gifts because it is pure awesomeness. Now, we've already done his first episode, but the second episode with the first ever voiceover artist in the history of Drinking with Authors. I feel like we need the Rocky song to come in here.
I know.
Listen to this and be like, I'm not doing the Rocky song. Maccabee Griffin, woo! Woo!
Yo, Adrian, we did it!
There we go. Now they're gonna have
Bad Rocky
to.
Balboa.
I don't know that they'll put
I
it
was
in.
like, now we got to pay.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to.
It was
Hey,
less than
royalties for that.
less
I'm
than 3
gonna get
seconds, so you don't have to worry about it.
We're good.
Email.
And we
Okay.
were talking about the song as we were doing it, so technically we're okay. I learned that on the
There
Scrubs
you
podcast.
There you go.
Okay. So
Scrubs
with
teaches
that
me
said,
stuff.
now that we got all the legalese out of the way and we can't be sued, hopefully. Let's talk about what we're drinking. So I'm at the very end of my second Flat Rock Cider Company Cherry Poppins, which is it's a cherry hard cider. I'd like to say more about that, but it's literally apple cider with cherries in it. So it's pretty awesome. They're North Carolina apples too, so that makes
Ooh.
super. I don't know why that's super special.
I don't know.
I've seen a lot of apple orchards up here, so there's that. Danielle, okay, before I keep going, what are you drinking?
I've got a chai latte in my special Disney cup from the Snow White Witch.
Very cool.
Yay.
Maccabee, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Barg's Red Cream Soda root beer.
Ooh.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Okay,
I'm the
rapid
silver
fire
one here, ladies and
questions.
gentlemen.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, nobody's ever ready for it. It's fine. You're not judged on it. It's not like you get points at the end of this and then
God
go
damn it.
towards
Fine, I
fabulous
guess I'll
prizes.
do it.
So what is your favorite audiobook of all time?
My favorite audiobook of all time would have to be I would say, oh my gosh, I had it and lost it. Damn it.
That's me.
I know, I lost
That's
it.
me
I really
the
did.
entire time I'm recording this podcast.
I was going to say that looks familiar. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. I can't even remember what it was called anyway. Oh, Iron Druid.
Iron
Very
Druid.
cool.
Iron Druid
Why is
Saga.
that your favorite?
Well, first off, because one, it's fantasy. Two, because the actor that read it was so good, I forgot I was even listening to it. Many times I felt like I was in it. And three, because of the fact it brings in so much mythology and into the story, and it's really, really good.
Very cool. What is an audiobook that you were like,
Oh, sweetie, there's way too many to even say. There's just
what is something that will throw you, like the drive you, because you're a narrator, so you know the technical side, you know all of that. So what are some things that you go, are you effing kidding me? Like, why didn't you fix this? So what are some issues with that?
breath sounds annoy me, even though it's a trend. Timing, the cadence of the way they're reading, if it's off by like even a split second, it drives me nuts. Because when you're narrating, you have to be on a specific cadence on a lot of different parts on your narrations. That's what gets you that into the scene. If that cadence is off, even with just timing, it drives me nuts, and I'll stop. It doesn't matter if I've been in it like a second or 5 minutes.
Okay. Do you leave reviews on audiobooks that you listen to?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh,
Do you read your reviews for audiobooks you produce?
I have not. Main reason why, one, I haven't done that many, so I'm still waiting for at least one guy to put it up so I can even look at it.
Okay.
And two, because I'm too judgmental about myself. I will.
so you don't need
destroy
help from
myself.
anybody else.
I don't need anybody. Yeah, I don't need help from anybody else. As long as I feel comfortable with it and the author feels comfortable about it, I don't need anybody else. Yeah, I'm good. Especially here's the other thing. If my wife likes it, even before I even put it out, if my wife likes it, then it's going to be good. If she doesn't like it, I will come right back and I'll re-record something. I will re-record the entire thing if I have to.
That's interesting. So is she like sort of a little bit of your QC?
She is. She is not only my QC, she is my muse. Because when I do my own writing, I have her read it first before I even go any further. Because if I have a certain viewpoint on something, if she looks at it and it's like, this doesn't make sense, or you've done way too much here and too little here, I'll even have my teenager actually read it because he's autistic and he's extremely blunt. Both of them are. So they're the hardest people that I know. And they are the most critical people I know.
Oh, you got to have those people in your life because it's fine when everybody goes, "Oh, this is so good."
No,
versus
I want to know everything.
that we're like, what the hell were you thinking?
They don't even get to that point. It's like, just redo it. Just redo it right now. What I need to know? Everything. All right, fine.
You know what I've always wanted to ask a narrator, because this drives me crazy when I'm listening to audiobooks. If you pick up a series midway, do you go back and listen to whoever recorded it before to make sure you have pronunciations correct and stuff? Do you listen to the person before to be like, oh, this person had an English accent when they recorded this character, I should pick up the English accent? Or like, do you listen to before just to make sure you have the same feel? Or do you just go, now I'm doing my own thing?
I try to be as close as possible to the previous author, because one major reason why is because as a reader, if I know that there's been a different author or different narrator, I want to make sure that I'm at least hearing the same thing, feeling it. Like if you listen to a lot of the old time radio like I do, like for instance, Philip Marlowe, Adventures of Philip Marlowe is an old detective, hardboiled detective series. There were like 5 different actors who played Philip Marlowe. But even though I noticed the different tones, I could legitimately say, yes, this is a different actor because 1, they're telling me, 2, I can hear it. But they kept the same tone. They kept the same cadence. They kept the same personality. When you can do it that way, then it makes it makes it easier for people to say, yes, I want to continue this. Or it'll be one of those points that, like, if one actor did really good on the first one and the second one did it a different way, that readers 90% of the time going to say, I'm not even going to do it. Nope, I don't like it. If this guy's the same one that's going to be doing it, I'm not touching it.
Well, and I think that's something that doesn't necessarily get talked about a lot, is that it's not only the story. You can love the story, but if you don't love the voice of the actor, it doesn't matter if you love the story or not, because that can throw you out. And some people very much follow people who write or read certain books, even regardless of what they're reading. They're like, I want to listen to this person read. I will absolutely just keep following that person's voice. And I listen to a lot of books because I do a lot of driving. So when listening to books, it's very interesting because I'll listen and I'll be like, oh, this person's the person that read this other book that I loved. And it's funny because my boyfriend will listen with me sometimes. He doesn't listen nearly as much as I do. And he will be like, isn't that the person that read blah? And I'm like, yes, it is. Thank you very much. Because, you follow the narrators as well.
Yes.
Okay. My next question is, if you could be any mythical or fantastical creature, what would you be and why?
I'd be a changeling.
Okay. Why?
Because now here's the difference. I'm not talking about the Scandinavian, the Irish, the Celtic mythology of the changeling, because they're really tiny and they're ugly as can be, and they're mostly just babies. I'm talking about like the D&D changeling, the humanoid, because
that's Dungeons and Dragons for everybody who's listening.
Yes.
I have to
Dungeons and Dragons. I believe, because I love this, one, they're able to really be a different person. They're able to live a different life and get away with it. Now, would I be mischievous? Sometimes, probably, but nothing that would be destructive to somebody's life. It's not like I'm going to kill somebody, unless I'm an assassin, then I'm just going to do that and take over their life, and that's the end of that. But if I'm going to be the good guy, I'm going to use it to and just have fun with people. Maybe get into places that I shouldn't be in, just to enjoy it. But I'm also going to really enjoy just having the different personality and way of life, way of thinking, because it's just theater to me. But I will definitely have to have it create a diary of like my entire story, so I know who I actually am.
I was gonna say, I wonder if you would lose yourself at some point if you're not careful about that.
Well, I've thought about that, because I actually have a short story that I'm still working on, by the way, of a character named is Fiona, and she is a changeling who is trying to find out who was trying to kill all of the viscounts within this world using a plant that's not of this world. And she is a changeling, and the story, I actually have it to where she's writing a diary of her family's lineage, so that she understands who she is and where she came from.
Okay. I like it. Danielle, my friend.
Okay, so Maccabee, you have to prove you're going to come face to face with one of these three creatures.
Okay.
Which one do you pick and why?
Okay.
A UFO, alien,
okay.
The Loch Ness Monster,
okay,
or Bigfoot?
I'm going to go with Bigfoot. One, I know you wanted me to go with the Loch Ness Monster. I know you wanted me with Bessie.
Yeah, no, she did.
I know. Here's the reason why. Okay, just hear me out.
Okay.
One, I don't like heights, so I'm definitely not going to be doing the space thing. I hate heights.
Okay, fair.
Loch Ness Monster. She's cool and everything, but I don't like to be in the water that much. So as my feet are on the ground, I'm good. It'd be kind of cool to meet her, but Bigfoot, just because humanoid, it's a lot easier to deal with than a dinosaur. And
for the record, Loch Ness, I don't think it's just one. I'm going to throw that out there. That I think it's one. You know what I mean?
I think there's been variants to her over the years.
I think it's a wormhole.
You think it was that log?
I think it's a wormhole, and we're seeing the reflection of the past. Nessie. All right, never mind. I'm going down a rabbit hole. Never mind.
Sounds like a book that you need to write. That's what that sounds like.
It's Leviathan. Okay. That's all it is. Leviathan.
Yeah. My reflections of Nessie.
What is your favorite book? And you have to have read it. I now have to say that because I had somebody on the show that was like, I like this one. I'm like, did you read the book? And they're like, no. And I was like,
that doesn't count.
Favorite book to movie or TV series that you think they did very well with it?
Nero Wolf.
Which one?
Nero Wolfe, Nero Wolfe.
Oh,
It was done back in the 30s and 40s. He is a detective who has very expensive tastes, loves his orchids. He's a big guy, especially during that time, and you know his sidekick, his secretary, his male secretary, is just street oriented. There's such a contrast between the characters, the way they act, the way they react to certain things, the stories themselves. And there was two variations to it, movie or TV wise. There was one that was done in a movie. It was okay back in the 40s and 50s, I think. But there was a Canadian TV series that they did back in the late 80s, early 90s, I think it was, early 90s. And the actors did such an amazing job with it. I felt literally like I was just reading it again.
Wow. Very cool. What about where they did a terrible job?
Ooh, there's so many of those. There's way too many of those. If I had to say,
like one that just got you, you were like, what did you do?
Oh man, there's too many. Oh God, I would say I would have to say the Twilight series. It was.
Okay.
You didn't like what they did with that?
The actors did a great job. Don't get me wrong, because I look at it from both points of views. I look at it from the script and the literary point, but I also look at it from the actors. Actors did a great job for what they were doing, except for the lead. I couldn't deal with Kirsten. But there was a lot of things that the way that she wrote in the book that was so much better than what they presented. That's just an example of one that I would say. People are going to hate me, but the Harry Potter series, honestly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've never read it.
She did a lot better explaining things and making you really feel more for the characters, especially if they died, comparative to what was presented in the script for the movies.
Interesting. Yeah, you'll get hate mail later.
I know I will.
Shameless self-promotion, and you can figure out where to send him the authors. That's fine.
Hey, I didn't say I didn't like the characters. I didn't say I didn't like the books. I just didn't like that. And there's another one. I will say it again real quick. Hunger Games.
See, I've
heard that.
Both of those, and it's interesting because one of the other co-hosts, Chelsea, brings up the fact that she looks at all movies and TV shows as sort of fan fiction of the books. Mm-hmm. You will never get the story that's in the books completely in a movie. Even though absolutely. Like they tried to do miniseries with some of the books, it's still not enough. You almost have to do like epic series, like a Stranger Things kind of thing, 5 seasons, and you might get a book in 5 seasons, maybe if you're lucky, right? Yeah. But I think what is interesting is when you look at Harry Potter, besides when they added a scene that wasn't even in the book, there's of course many layers, especially as those books went from like here to like here, right? Mm-hmm. But they stuck. One thing I give them credit for, except for the people that actually legitimately passed away in real life, they kept the same characters, which was nice. So there was consistency. Yes. It was a good story. It did tell some of the stories. It's just there's only so much you can get out of a book into a movie. Exactly. Hunger Games, I felt like they did a pretty good job because you're never going to get that whole political thing, which is what the books were about, the class system. Really communicated, and again without enough room, because you figure a script, as an actor, a script is maybe 120 pages, maybe, without a lot of action scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the page is action scene, but we're talking about 120 pages, not 120 pages of a book. It's like less than a quarter of a page of a book.
Yeah.
So you're taking a book that may be 300 pages long, and you're getting, maybe if you spread that all out, 30 pages.
Exactly.
10%.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with all of that. And that's why this is a trick question, and it. Setting me up. You're so horrible.
I set everybody up. That's part of my goal.
Exactly. That's why it's a great question. Because even look at Stephen King books. Everybody says the exact same thing. Stephen King books are so much better than they actually are in the movies, because of all the details and how he develops the characters, and you see them being developed more than what an actor can do within the time frame that they have.
I think what I've learned though in writing my script, and now it being judged in contests, is exposition is the problem when you take it from book to script, is exposition. And that's why in a lot of these movies, all of a sudden you have a character, you're like, that character's introduced later, or that one never showed up. Like, who's this? And a lot of times it's because the information still has to get to the audience.
Yeah.
But it was exposition in the book. Now we've got to do it differently. How do we do it? And that's where a lot of that comes from. And I actually met with the gentleman who greenlit Hunger Games. It was one of the last things he did before he left the studio. And we had a meeting, and he was like, I'm the one who actually greenlit Hunger Games. Like, we were having this whole thing. And the author for the Hunger Games had a lot to do with it, but at some point they cut the author off. The authors, they're like, you got nothing to do with this script now, because if it's up to the author, we want everything. And it's like, no, you can't cut that one out because we need that. No, you can't cut this out because we. And the studio literally cuts them off, and it's like, no, because when you're writing the script, you have to show reason to be in the writer's room. And if you did not write the first draft that was accepted by the studio, the author has nothing to do with that. It's given. So it's so hard, because unless you're someone like Deborah Harkness, when she did Discovery of Witches, she gave a certain percentage back to the production in order to get involved.
Yeah, and that's a great thing when you can actually have the author there the entire time, and you
a lot of times they don't want them there.
Yeah, I know, that's the problem. That's why a lot of these stories do not really fade in properly or blend in easily with the movie or the TV series. It's because of the fact that Hollywood is trying to save a certain amount of money. They're trying to hit it at a certain point. There's a lot of little details, a lot of big details that actually make an impact on the movie. It could be a great script. It could be a great story, but when money's involved and time's involved, and greed, definitely greed, then that story's just going to be shot. You're not going to have the great development of characters, which people are not going to connect with. You're not going to have a great story told, because you're cutting every little thing, that most important parts of that. And that's where a lot of that, the scripters are so important, because they have to be in talks with the author at all times to figure out when it's going to work and when it's not.
Well, so fun story, and I've learned this from several people in the industry. There's two parts of this, and is that one is if you get excited, kind of like what we talked about before in the previous podcast, you get excited about something and you're like, somebody wants to option my thing, I'm signing away. What do they want to option it for? Like, the fact of the matter is several studios option books so they don't compete with other shows or series they're doing. Like, I got to get this off the market so it doesn't beat out
they'll shelve it
that I'm doing. Another thing is authors get really excited. They just sign away the rights and they don't know, because unfortunately, a lot of people at the studio are presented with an idea. Hey, there's this thing. Maybe an intern read the book or parts of the book or whatever, but the person who's handed the script to write the script, I found out a lot of them, especially if they're burden insurance for studios, maybe read the back cover.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't actually necessarily read the book or talk to the author. They just write the script. But the author has given away all of their rights to be a part of it at all. And as hard as it is, you have to decide, because Stephen King is a great example where he was like, I don't care. Like, he didn't. You know what I mean? A lot. Now, then you ask him what he thought of it and Sleepwalkers, and he'll be like, it's a terrible fucking movie. But they paid him dollar bills, y'all, to do whatever the hell they wanted to with it. He didn't have input on it. And I think you have to decide as an author which way you want to go. And as a fan, you can't get mad at the author for which direction they wanted to go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
And there are some authors, we talked about interviewing, that I would never want. I've been on a set. I've done acting. You've been on a set. There are authors I would never in a million years want on a set with me telling me stuff. Like, you know, when I heard a person who I don't think should have nearly the notoriety they do, but I would love to, James, was on the set the whole time, I would have shot myself in the face. Like, seriously, that would have been so annoying to me, because then you're getting into all the specifics. So it's one thing, like, where is the level of interest? And then where is somebody creating something to show your story that maybe you're not going to love it because you love all these characters, but there are some characters, like, again, you get 10% of your book in a movie. What 10% do you want to tell? And what 10% is the studio interested in telling? Yeah, absolutely. Right. And that's why looking at contracts is so important before you even sign anything. Having someone you trust that's a lawyer, that knows contracts and can, layman term, literally everything that you don't understand about it, is so important. Here's another thing. There is a gentleman that I just recently was introduced to. His name is Mark W. Travis. And he was an actor during the late 70s, early 80s. He's been a director on multiple things. He's been a writer, and he's been consulted on multiple things as well. But he's also a teacher. And one of the things that he has presented to him right now is he has a technique called the interrogation technique. And one of the things he always tells people is, especially actors, and he's doing this for writers too, is that when you're creating a character, if you're playing a character, you're not acting. The character's already in you. You just need to figure out how to get out of its way so that the character can come out. And he's got a video up on YouTube and everything. Everybody who's in the publishing world and the acting industry, anybody who really enjoys character development or just telling stories needs to go watch this. It's free. He's got a seminar coming up next month, I think. But there are a lot of things, like, if you are getting in the way of the character, or your personality, your beliefs, your ideologies get in the way in that character, you're never going to have a great character. You're never going to have a great story. And it's just going to be going downhill from there. I agree 1,000%. Okay. What is your favorite weird food combination? I don't think. Well, he's thinking of that, Danielle. I want you to come up with the final question. What weird food? Come on. We all have weird food. A weird food. Combination. Stuff you eat together that most people would never eat together, but you love. Honestly, I really don't have anything strange, to be fair. I'm really one of those variants has got to have one. Come on. Yeah, I was about to say it's there somewhere. It's something that you're like, doesn't everybody eat this? And then you tell people, and people are like, no. Honestly, no. I've never had it. If I had to say something, I would be more towards my son and my wife, and that would be pickle juice and nachos.
Okay, yeah, that counts.
That counts.
That counts.
That is something that they enjoy so much, especially my wife. But
that counts.
Yeah.
You win.
Yeah. Okay. That's something.
You win.
Okay,
Chelsea's
Danielle,
trying that.
now that you're sufficiently grossed out, you got to ask the final question, my friend.
What is your spirit animal?
My spirit animal is a wolf.
Why?
Because.
And what kind of wolf? Because there's a bunch of wolves.
It's
Arctic
a
wolf,
white timber wolf.
Oh, that's foxes. Sorry.
It's a white timber wolf. Because of multiple things. One, they don't work by themselves. They always have a pack to work with. They all know what role they're playing, and they know what they're supposed to do. Two, they are great teachers, and they support one another. And three, they rely a lot more on logic than they do feeling. However, certain things can obviously allow them to be more savage than other things. So I would definitely say the white timber wolf.
I like it. Very mystical. Very mystical.
I like
Okay. Shameless self-promotion time.
Head over to mackgriffinvo.com, MACKGRIFFIN, V as in Victor, O as in Oscar.com. You can hear all of my voiceover samples. You can learn a little bit more about the podcast that I have, and I'll say that in a minute. And third, you can actually read some samples of my writing. So if you're an author, a script writer, a creative writer who just wants to tell a great story, but you need help with characters or come up with narratives and narrative inspiration, for instance, historical events in your world, or to just create some type of mythology or lore for your new fantasy story, then come on in. I will be happy to talk to you, help coach you, help you to get inspired, and just be an ear, if anything. You can also go to beyondthepenpodcast.com and listen to all the wonderful authors like Danielle, who has been on our show, and learn about their books, learn about them most of all, and then learn about the story behind the story, because that's the most important thing, that little area between the ink and the paper.
Wonderful. So this has been amazing having you as our first narrator ever on Drinking with Authors. Thank you so much for being the guinea pig. Just kidding. Being the first. It has been awesome. This has been Drinking with Authors, the literary briefs edition. Words, it's fine. I've been your host, Erica Lance. My amazing co-host has been Danielle Orsino. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and you just listened to a whole podcast. You should review us and tell us what you think, or you watched it, which is even better because you get to see the junk in the background since I had to switch computers. And our sponsor is Skunk Brothers Spirits, coupon code DWA10, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.